but you have to get all of this complete and accurate to your attorney and then into the probation officer before you meet so that they can get all this information entered into their probation report. So by the time you meet, they're not rushed to get all this information out of you, and you're not rushed to get it to them mostly accurate. Here, at least you have time to make sure it's proofed and accurate, and they have time to casually have a conversation with you and get to know you on a more personal level because they're going to pass on all this information, draft the draft the pre-sentence report, and then talk to the judge and recommend your sentence to the judge. And so they may, by having a personal conversation with you, that may be your opportunity to in turn create a better first impression. And so this impacts, and we'll follow my mouse here, your release date. It will include you accepting responsibility, acknowledging that you created pain for your victims. You have remorse for what you've done. It's going to impact your security level because your attorney will know this and also will be able to have that conversation ahead of time with your probation officer, which we'll review towards the end of this YouTube. It will include medical and mental health care needs. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to briefly go through this over here. Open another screen. That medical and mental health care is developed or is delivered through four different care levels. Care level 4 is 24/7, 365 nursing care. You're in a hospital type setting. Care level 1 means that you need limited, if no care at all. You may be seen by medical once a year, twice a year. Care level 3 means that you need care, but you don't need it all the time. You don't need it 24/7, 365 nursing. You may need outpatient psychiatric care, outpatient nursing care. You may need care with activities of daily living, meaning that you can't take care of yourself. You need help with dressing. You may have some dementia type care. You may need help with brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom, that type of thing. You may be a stroke victim, that type of thing. And then care level 2 is the majority of the population in the country, where you're basically okay, and you may be on medications, but you're stable, and you can be seen anywhere. You may be seen by medical 2 times a year, 4 times a year, something like that. But that is the medical type of requirement. Psychology programs have limited availability. And then there's first step back programming, criminogenic needs assessment. What does that mean? Essentially, what that means is that, and I'll go into that in more detail later, but once you surrender to prison and you get into the actual prison system and you get in front of a TrueLink computer, the very first thing you're going to do is not email your loved ones at home or a friend at home or a girlfriend at home. As you put in your identification numbers that they have provided you, find the risk assessment survey for you and take it. Because through the first act, you can earn time credits towards early release. If you do not take this risk assessment survey and you forget, well, your case managers and unit team, which are going to be basically over you, your camp counselors, if you will, but they're going to be in charge of your unit where you're sleeping or staying. They may not know that you haven't taken the survey, but they're going to be giving you programs to take, and you're going to take them, as I'm going to instruct you to do. But you're not going to get credit for early release if you haven't taken your survey, and you're going to be probably pretty aggravated at some point. So take that survey right away. Here we go. So being prepared, as I've already said, as soon as you arrive before you meet with your unit team, as soon as you get in front of the computer, so you want to be prepared. And this is going to be a theme I'm going to constantly review with you. And you're going to see here throughout my website, these little YouTubes that some of them are short, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Some of them may be longer, up to 30 minutes or an hour, but they're meant to give you some more information. This is a risk assessment. These are questions. These are questions that you're going to want to present. You should, how do I explain this? Before you have your pre-sentence interview, you want to have answers to these assessment questions written down. And so, for example, I'm going to open this up, and this is the assessment that you're going to be asked these questions once you get into prison. And there is an inmate interview form, self-audit, this one says this on this page, and this is going to be the staff interview form. And so I'm not sure how they are going to ask this one and how this one is going to be asked. It appears that the staff is going to ask this one to you, but I'm not really sure because these were not available to me when I was there. But it seems to me that you should be familiar with these questions before you go to your pre-sentence interview and have answers to these woven into your personal narrative, which I will go into as we go through this YouTube, and your reentry plan probably better in your reentry plan as you go into that as you write your reentry plan, so that you will appear more prepared, because your case managers are going to be reading your pre-sentence report, and you want to be as prepared as you can be. And so they're going to want to, they're telling you their goal is for you to understand your thoughts of identifying your assessments needs. Well, okay. And they want to know, how familiar are you with the First Step Act? And what is your understanding? What's it supposed to be? Did you learn about it through from a staff member, family, and friends? Well, you can tell them that because you had time to think about, the charges against you and the damage that you've done, pain you inflicted upon your victims, that, you knew that you had to make a change, and you started going online and Googling the First Step Act. And so you needed to learn. And they want to know, did you take the true links? Well, you better say, yes, you did. And how are you aware of the needs of the First Step Back? Well, I just gave you that answer. And what First Step Back programs are available? I'm going to show you that. And have you completed any of the programs? Well, initially, if you're just going into prison, the answer is you haven't completed any of them. Now, at this point, there's a staff interview form. They're going to ask you these programs. Are you familiar with the First Step Back? Similar questions. Now, they may be asking these same questions over and over again, and these answers will change. But here is a little bit of change. So the first, how does the inmate learn about their identified needs? Well, here is the program statement. Program statements. These are the Bureau of Prisons. I guess it's their rules, their law about taking the First Step Back. So we're now going to go into here, and this is the program statement that you can go into, and it gives all the rules of the road as to the objectives of the First Step Back needs assessment, and you can go and learn all about that on your own here through the website. But I have all that information here for you to be able to digest on your own. The second link here, this probably will not apply to all of you. Most of you will either be low or minimum. This is for those of you that are high or medium. And these are alternative incentives. In other words, these incentives are not incentives for those working towards early release. These are alternative sentences. For example, it's more phone time, but they have to pay for the phone time. But you can go the same thing. You can click on this here, and it will open up the alternative sentences, the alternative benefits that are available for people who are not able to get. So these are awarding incentives provides rewards to prisoners to participate in evidence-based programs. So they're phone and visitation privileges. None of this is towards early release, but they may have to pay for it, especially if it's for more time, more phone time, or more time, more commissary privileges. Now we're going to go back and close that. Then for the First Step Back programs, you can see here also through the website, we're going to open this up. And these are all the programs that the First Step has available, which constantly gets changed. The First Step Back programs, there's that assessment survey I talked about. Well, this is a YouTube version of it. These are the PDF questions, which you just reviewed. Another YouTube that explains it. And pattern scoring. This is another, there's the risk assessment survey, and then it's pattern. And in the pattern scoring is more hard-coded. And hard-coded means, let's click on that. And this you cannot change. For example, so this is, for example, your age. You can't change that. So if you're over 60, you're luckier. At the time, I was over 60. Walsh conviction. Well, this is, children with criminals, child offenses against children. And then this is violent offenses. If there are any violent offenses, move this a little bit. There's criminal history points. If this is only applies if you were prior. This is if you've been in prison before, or again, criminal history escapes. This is for prior history in prison, history of violence in prison. Education score. This is now if you're going into prison. If you not enrolled, if you have a GED, then you're great. If you have beyond the GED, then it's even better. Drug program status. Again, all incident reports. If you don't have any, wonderful. But most of this applies to, or half of it applies to if you've been in prison for a period of time. FRP is financial responsibility plan. You do not want to refuse the responsibility plan. This means that if you have a financial penalty per court order, then you are going to be required or strongly recommended to set up a financial plan to pay back some of the monies monthly in order to participate in the First Step Act. Let's shut this down. And if you don't, then you may not be allowed to earn time credits towards early release. And so that is their carrot and stick.